Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to talk about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, specifically the Switch version, and why you shouldn't buy it on Switch. I really like the first one, I'll be honest. I thought the first game, being what it is with a lower budget kind of platform fighter, it was enjoyable, right? I had fun playing it. It's not like it's the best game ever, but I thought it came out at a similar time to Multiverses, came out the same year, and I actually had fun with it. I preferred it to Multiverses. I thought it was sort of one of the better games. It was very quick, it was kind of very Smash Melee-like. I think that's kind of what they were going for, and it was an enjoyable experience, and it was just like, you know what, I don't know a lot of these characters, but it was cool seeing things like Ren and Stimpy and like some of the more classic Nickelodeon characters. Anyway, I recently picked up the second game on the eShop for about £10 in the UK, and I was just very disappointed. I'm very disappointed because this game has a lot more going for it. The second game has a bigger roster, it has more levels, it has reworked characters, it has a lot of good ideas, but the performance in this game is so bad that this is just one of those exceptions where I couldn't really recommend this to somebody buying this game for the Nintendo Switch. This is a game that you probably want to play on anything other than the Switch, just because of how badly this game runs. Now, I don't know if the game's 30 frames on other systems. I'm going to assume that it isn't. But because this game is now 30 frames, unlike the original being 60 frames, this game feels incredibly slow. It feels sluggish when playing the game. It just doesn't have the same, what's the word I'm looking for, like, the game feel feels off because it is running at a lower frame rate, and that really sucks, and that is something that is kind of a big no-no for fighting games. Like, if you're going to make a fighting game, you really have to have it running at 60 frames. You need that input delay to be very minimal, and you need the game to feel like you're in control the entire time. And what I've noticed with All-Star Brawl 2 is that I find I'm whiffing a lot. Like, I'll be like trying to hit people with my attacks, and that could also be a hitbox thing, but I feel like I'm whiffing my attacks a lot. I feel like I'm not in control as much as I should be, and that's really disappointing because it feels like there's a good variety of characters here, and I haven't played all of them. I've played some of them, but it's really hard to get into a groove, find a character, practice with them when the game just doesn't run that well. I mean, the frame rate would be bad enough on its own, right? You know, just fighting games, you just don't have them at that lower frame rate. But the unfortunate thing with this game is the performance on top of that is just awful. Some of the stages cause, a reduction in frame rate below 30. This isn't even a consistent 30 frames. The frame rate's all over the place. Some levels you can see visible lag, stutter, things like that. Some of the levels not so bad, and you get a good match. But I've played a few 4-player matches versus bots and things like that. It just doesn't. It just isn't fun to play. You can see things like this throughout the game. It's not just in the battles. The loading screens in this game are awful. So the game's meant to have these like stripes and like movement stuff in the background. And it crawls down to a couple of frames a second while it's loading on Switch. It's kind of baffling to me. And the reason I say that is because the first game runs at 60 frames. The first game has, maybe long loading times, but the loading screens don't slow down. There's so much stuff that has happened between the first and the second game where I'm like, why did you release this in a state that clearly isn't, that good? I mean, they've obviously put out updates for the game because you have extra characters being added in, things like that. But ultimately, there's no reason for this game to run as badly as it does, even in a single player. It's cool that there's a single player. It's like, oh, this is a good idea. It's kind of like, reminds me of Subspace Emissary, where you go around, you collect the characters, you fight these different fights. And it's not amazing, it's not like the best thing ever, but at least it's like kind of fun, and there's some fun interactions and stuff in it. But even that runs goddamn terribly. It's so hard to play this game, at all. It's so hard to be able to be like, oh yeah, I love the first one, the second one will be good. But this is, like I said, primarily this is a Switch problem by the sounds of it. And it's one of those things, I think, where I mean, for £10, like, you know, I don't even think it's worth that on Switch. I think this is, you know, if you can get this for a couple quid, fine, but you're better off playing the first game. But ultimately, like, when you have what makes it difficult is that the resolution's already lower, right? So the resolution in docked mode on the Switch, you can visibly see, like, there's not, it's not great. Then on top of that, you've got either hitching and stuttering and a lower frame rate, and then on top of that, your controls don't feel responsive. Like, you can tell the difference, like, night and day between a game running at 60 and 30, but you can also tell the difference when even if it was like consistent 30, the controls would feel better, but they're not. It just doesn't feel like the game's reading my inputs, or some of my inputs will get eaten, and it really sucks because, like, there is a good game here. There is a good game here. There's, like, more characters, more stages, more modes. There's voices and stuff for the characters this time around, like, that from the start. They clearly had a better budget. The artwork is better. There's an upgrade to all the characters' movesets, all this stuff. Like, they had more time. You know, it's coming out 2 years later. They went back, sorted it all out, did all these things that people wanted. There's multiple skins, some awesome skins in the game, but none of that matters if your game cannot perform at a level that is adequate, and this game is subpar. Like, if you like this, if you like the first one on Switch, stick with the first one. If you want to play the second one, play on anything else. I know the Switch gets this flack a lot when it comes to a lot of games. The reason why I'm frustrated by it is I can kind of forgive it for a lot of games, but when it comes to fighting games, you cannot have a 30 frame fighting game, like, unless it is a constant 30 frame with no drops, nothing, so that at least feels good to play in the hand. Because it doesn't, it means this game is just unplayable to me. Like, I just cannot sit there and play this for more than a couple of matches before I'm like, I'm frustrated. You know, and there's no excuse for it, because Smash Bros. Ultimate exists, and that game 99% of the time runs at a consistent 60 frames. And people can sit here and say, you know, no, it's got no less budget, all this sort of stuff, but these are decisions you have to make from the beginning. If they've decided to make the game at 30, you have to make that game run at that frame rate. You know, this game is not worth its money on Switch, and that's kind of how I feel about it. It's very frustrating. I would love to sit here and recommend this game to you guys, but no, don't spend any money on this. If you want to play it, get it on a different platform, or just play the first one. You know, this does have that kind of, first one's kind of like melee, the second one's kind of like brawl. It is slower, everyone moves slower, everything's heavier, but that would only be better if the game performed better. So I don't have much else to say on the game. I kind of just wanted to get a video out showcasing my disappointment, I guess. I think the devs need to, if they're not going to essentially patch the game to help the performance, then they need to have a good hard think if they ever decide to release another one of these for Switch, that they need to get the game running at a level that's actually better. And also, one thing I will say is the character roster is a bit weird. They missed out some good characters from the first game, Powdered Toast Man, Shredder, for other people. I kind of get, but yeah, odd choice to remove some of them. But yeah, that's gonna do it for today. It's a shorter video. It's a shame that I have to do something so super negative. I'd rather not be here sat talking about it, but that's just how disappointed I am with this game. So go look for it on a different platform. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. As always, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be in the description down below. And until next time, I will see you then.